The signal came from deep space at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his 4th cup of coffee when the communication officer at Lunar Defense Station started shouting. "Sir, we're getting something weird," said Lieutenant Amy Brooks, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's not from any human ship." Jake set down his coffee and walked over to the communications desk. The signal was weak but steady, coming from somewhere beyond the outer planets. Amy had already run it through the computer translation system 3 times. "What does it say?" Jake asked. Amy looked up at him with worried eyes. "It's a distress call, sir, but not from humans." The message played again through the speakers. Even with the computer translation, Jake could hear the fear in the voice. The speaker sounded like a bird with high chirping sounds mixed with what might have been words. "Please, anyone who can hear this message. My people are dying. The Vrak have come to our worlds. They are eating us. They are eating our children. We have tried to fight, but we cannot stop them. Please, if there is anyone out there who can help us, we will give you anything. Our technology, our resources, our planets. Please help us before there is nothing left." The message repeated every few minutes. Jake listened to it 6 more times before calling Dr. Lisa Hayes to the station. Lisa was the best language expert they had, and if anyone could figure out what these aliens really needed, it would be her. Lisa arrived 2 hours later, looking tired but excited. She had never worked with a real alien language before. Most humans thought they were alone in the universe. "This is amazing," Lisa said as she listened to the message. "The language is completely different from anything on Earth, but the computer translation seems accurate. These beings are in real trouble." Jake nodded. "What do you think about the Vrak they mentioned?" Lisa played the message again, focusing on the parts about the enemy. "From the way they described them, the Vrak sound like predators. They hunt other species for food. The speakers call themselves Ethans and they seem to be plant eaters. Like deer running from wolves," Jake said. "Exactly like that." Jake spent the next hour reading the message details. The signal came from a star system about 50 light-years away. It would take their fastest ship 3 weeks to get there. That was a long time for people who were being hunted. Admiral Paul Carter arrived at the station the next morning. He was not happy about being woken up early. "Morrison, what's this about?" "Aliens?" Paul asked, still putting on his uniform jacket. Jake showed him the message and Lisa's translation notes. Paul listened to the recording twice, then shook his head. "This could be a trap," Paul said. "We don't know anything about these aliens. Maybe the Vrak are the good guys and these Ethans are lying." "The fear in that voice isn't fake," Lisa said. "I've studied human speech patterns for 15 years. Fear sounds the same in any language." Paul walked around the room thinking. Even if it's real, what can we do? We have 12 ships that can travel between stars. We've never fought an alien war before. "We have to try," Jake said. "If we were sending out distress calls, wouldn't we want someone to help us?" Paul stopped walking and looked at Jake. "You want to take a ship into unknown space to fight aliens we've never seen, to help other aliens we've never met?" "Yes, sir." Paul was quiet for a long time. Finally, he sighed. "I'll talk to the Earth Defense Council. But Morrison, if they say yes, you're taking only 1 ship. We can't risk the whole fleet on this." The Earth Defense Council met that afternoon. Jake and Lisa presented the alien message to 12 men and women who made decisions for all of humanity's space forces. The discussion lasted 3 hours. Council leader Margaret Stone asked the important questions. What if this Vrak species decides to attack Earth after we help their enemies? What if our ship gets destroyed and we lose 50 crew members? What if this is some kind of test? Jake answered each question as best he could. "We don't know what will happen, but we know that right now innocent people are being killed. If we can help them, we should try." In the end, the council voted 7-5 to send 1 ship. Jake would command the mission aboard the Ranger-class vessel called simply Ranger. It was their newest ship, with the best weapons and the fastest engine humanity had ever built. Jake spent 2 days picking his crew. He chose Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez as his second in command. Sam had fought in the Mars Colony War and knew how to handle dangerous situations. Marine Sergeant Tony Mitchell would lead the soldiers. Chief Engineer Rick Barnes would keep the ship running no matter what happened. Lisa Hayes would come too, to help talk with the aliens. Jake also brought Dr. Kevin Park, their best medical officer, in case they found wounded survivors. The night before they left, Jake stood on the observation deck of Lunar Station looking out at the stars. Earth hung in the black sky like a blue and white marble. Somewhere out there, people were dying while sending desperate messages into the dark. Sam Rodriguez joined him at the window. "Having second thoughts, Captain?" "Always," Jake said. "But that doesn't mean we shouldn't go." "The crew is ready," Sam said. They all volunteered when they heard about the mission. Every single one. Jake nodded. That didn't surprise him. Humans had always been willing to help others even when it was dangerous. Maybe especially when it was dangerous. The Ranger launched the next morning with 47 crew members aboard. As they left Earth's solar system and jumped into hyperspace, Jake thought about the message they had received. The Ethans had asked for help and Earth was sending it. What the Ethans didn't know was what kind of help they were getting. Humans had spent 10,000 years learning how to fight. They had turned warfare into an art form. They had created weapons that could destroy entire cities and tactics that could defeat any enemy. The Vrak thought they were the greatest predators in the galaxy. They were about to learn they were wrong. Earth's monsters were coming, and they hunted for a reason the Vrak would never understand. They hunted to protect others. The journey to Ethan space would take 3 weeks. Jake hoped they would arrive in time to save someone. He had no idea that by the time they returned to Earth, the entire galaxy would know humanity's name. The Ranger dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Ethan system, and immediately saw the fires burning on 3 different planets. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the tactical display as red dots moved around the planets like angry insects. 27 enemy ships, reported Sam Rodriguez from the sensor station. "They're big, Captain. Much bigger than us." Jake studied the enemy vessels through the main viewer. The Vrak ships looked like they were grown instead of built, with rough surfaces and sharp edges. They moved in loose formations around the planets, some ships firing down at cities while others seemed to be landing troops. "Any sign of the people who sent the distress call?" Jake asked. Lisa Hayes looked up from her communication console. "I'm picking up scattered transmissions from the surface. Most of them are just screaming, but a few are still asking for help." Jake made his decision quickly. "Sam, take us toward the 3rd planet. That's where the strongest signals are coming from. Rick, I want everything we have ready. Shields, weapons, engines." Chief Engineer Rick Barnes nodded from his station. "The ship is ready, Captain. But those Vrak vessels have much heavier weapons than us. Then we'll have to be smarter than them," Jake said. As the Ranger moved toward the planet, 3 Vrak ships turned to intercept them. Jake got his first close look at the aliens through the scanner. They were huge, standing over 8 feet tall with thick green skin and long arms ending in claws. Their heads looked like crocodiles with rows of sharp teeth and small yellow eyes. "They're trying to communicate," Lisa said. "It's a simple message. They want us to leave or they will destroy us." "Tell them we're here to help the Ethans," Jake replied. Lisa sent the message. The Vrak response came back immediately, along with weapons fire. Energy beams struck the Ranger's shields, making the whole ship shake. "They don't want to talk," Sam said, firing back with their main guns. The human weapons were smaller than the Vrak guns, but they were faster and more accurate. The Ranger's first shots hit one of the enemy ships right in what looked like its engine section. The Vrak vessel spun out of control and crashed into the planet's atmosphere. "One down," Tony Mitchell said from the Marine station. "These guys aren't as tough as they look." The other 2 Vrak ships spread out trying to surround the Ranger. But Jake had expected this. Human military training was all about fighting multiple enemies at once. "Sam, emergency turn to port." "Rick, give me everything the engines have," Jake ordered. The Ranger spun around so fast that the Vrak ships couldn't follow. Jake brought them up behind the 2nd enemy vessel and fired directly into its rear section. The ship exploded in a ball of green fire. The 3rd Vrak ship tried to run, but the Ranger was faster. Jake didn't want to destroy it completely. They needed to learn more about their enemy. "Target their weapons and engines only," Jake told Sam. "I want prisoners." The Ranger's precise fire disabled the Vrak ship without destroying it. Jake ordered Tony Mitchell to prepare a boarding party. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Sam asked. "We don't know how dangerous they are in person." "Only one way to find out," Jake said. Tony led 6 Marines onto the wrack ship. What they found inside shocked them. The ship wasn't just a warship. It was a prison. Dozens of Ethans were locked in small cages, some of them injured, all of them terrified. The Ethans were beautiful creatures that looked like a mix between birds and humans. They had feathers instead of hair, large dark eyes, and thin, graceful bodies. Most of them were only 5 feet tall, much smaller than humans. "They're keeping them as food," Tony reported over the radio. "Captain, these Vrak are worse than animals. Animals only kill when they're hungry." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. He had seen enough wars to know that people could be cruel, but this was different. The Vrak were hunting an entire species for sport. "Free the prisoners and bring some of the Vrak back to our ship," Jake ordered. "We need to question them." While Tony's Marines rescued the Ethans, the Ranger moved closer to the planet. Jake could see the destruction clearly now. Cities were burning, and Vrak landing ships were scattered across the surface like metal tumors. Dr. Lisa Hayes made contact with Ethan survivors on the ground. Their leader was named Cathara, the same person who had sent the original distress call. She was hiding in underground tunnels with about 200 other survivors. "Please, you must leave," Cathara said through the translator. "The Vrak have too many ships. They will kill you like they killed the others who tried to help us." "Others tried to help you?" Jake asked. 3 other species answered our call," Cathara explained. "The Vrak destroyed their ships and ate their crews. You should run while you can." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Sam was checking weapon systems. Rick was monitoring the engines. Tony was organizing the rescued prisoners. Lisa was working on improving the translation system. Everyone was calm and focused, like they were getting ready for any normal mission. "Cathara, we're not like the other species," Jake said. "We don't run from bullies." Jake ordered the Ranger to land near the tunnel entrance where the survivors were hiding. As soon as the ship touched down, Vrak ground troops started moving toward them. Jake could see them through the sensors, hundreds of the big reptilian creatures, moving in loose groups across the burning landscape. "Sergeant Mitchell, take your Marines and secure the area around the ship," Jake ordered. "Dr. Hayes, go with them and help evacuate the survivors. Everyone else prepare for ground combat." Tony Mitchell had fought in 3 different wars, but he had never seen anything like the Vrak ground forces. They didn't use tactics or formations. They just charged forward, roaring and shooting wildly. It should have made them easy to defeat, but the Vrak were incredibly tough. Human bullets that would drop a man just made them angry. They kept fighting even with serious wounds, and their claws could cut through body armor like paper. "These things are built for war," Tony reported to Jake. "But they fight like mad animals, not soldiers." That was when Tony realized something important. The Vrak were used to hunting prey that ran away. They had never fought someone who fought back with intelligence and planning. Tony's Marines spread out in a defensive circle around the ship, using cover and crossfire to stop the Vrak attacks. The aliens kept charging straight at the humans, never learning from their mistakes. "They don't understand tactics," Tony told his men. "Stay calm, aim carefully, and work together. We can beat them." As the first group of Ethan survivors reached the ship, Jake made a decision that would change everything. Instead of leaving immediately, he decided to hunt down more Vrak forces and rescue more prisoners. "Sam, scan for more Vrak landing sites," Jake ordered. "We're not leaving until we've hurt them badly." "Captain, that's not our mission," Sam pointed out. Jake looked at the rescued Ethans being brought aboard his ship. They were so thin and scared that some of them couldn't even walk without help. In their eyes, he saw the same look he had seen in human refugees during the colony wars. "It is now," Jake said. The Ranger lifted off and began hunting Vrak ground forces across the planet. The human ship was faster and more maneuverable than anything the Vrak had. Jake used hit-and-run tactics, striking Vrak positions and disappearing before they could respond. After 6 hours of fighting, Jake had rescued over 400 Ethans and destroyed 12 Vrak landing sites. The aliens were starting to pull back, confused by an enemy that attacked them instead of running away. As the Ranger prepared to leave the system, Jake received a message from the Vrak fleet commander. The translation was simple. "What are you?" Jake thought about that question as they jumped back into hyperspace. The Vrak had spent thousands of years hunting species that were weaker than them. They had never met anyone who hunted back. Earth's monsters had arrived in the galaxy and they were just getting started. Word about the strange new species spread through Vrak space like wildfire. For the first time in their history, A prey species had fought back and won. Warlord Krextar, ruler of the eastern Vrak territories, studied the battle reports from his command ship with growing anger. "Impossible," he growled to his lieutenant. "The reports say these humans destroyed 6 of our ships with only 1 vessel." "The survivors all tell the same story, Warlord," Lieutenant Vosak replied nervously. "These humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not run when we attack. They attack back." Krextar slammed his clawed fist on the metal table, leaving deep scratches. The Vrak had conquered 47 different species over the past 200 years. All of them had begged for mercy. All of them had tried to hide or run away. None of them had ever hunted Vrak soldiers for sport. "Send 3 fleets to human space," Krextar ordered. "Find their homeworld and destroy it completely. These creatures must not be allowed to spread their disease of resistance to other prey species." While the Vrak prepared their response, Captain Jake Morrison brought the Ranger back to Earth with 412 Ethan refugees aboard. The bird-like aliens had never seen anything like Earth's blue oceans and green forests. Most of them spent the journey staring out the windows in wonder. Dr. Lisa Hayes worked closely with the Ethans to learn their language better. She discovered that their species had never developed weapons of war. They were naturally peaceful, living in harmony with their environment for thousands of years before the Vrak found them. "How did you survive so long without fighting?" Lisa asked Cathara, the Ethan leader. "We hid," Cathara explained through the improved translator. "When predators came to our world, we would flee to the deep forests or high mountains. We thought all intelligent species were like us. Not all of them," Lisa said sadly. When the Ranger reached Earth, Admiral Paul Carter was waiting with a full investigation team. The rescued Ethans were taken to a special facility where they could recover from their experience. Jake and his crew spent 3 days explaining exactly what they had found in Vrak space. "The situation is worse than we thought," Jake told the Earth Defense Council. "The Vrak aren't just raiders. They're systematically destroying entire civilizations. They keep some prisoners alive for food and sport." Council leader Margaret Stone reviewed the battle recordings with a grim expression. "How many ships do they have?" "According to the Ethans, the Vrak control over 60 star systems," Sam Rodriguez answered. "Each system has at least 50 warships. We're looking at 3,000 enemy vessels minimum." The room fell silent. Earth's entire space fleet had only 12 ships capable of interstellar travel. "We're badly outnumbered," Admiral Carter said. "Maybe we should focus on defending our own space." Jake stood up from his chair. "Sir, with respect, that's exactly what every other species thought. The Vrak are like a disease. They spread from system to system, consuming everything in their path. If we don't stop them now, they'll eventually reach Earth anyway." Dr. Kevin Park, who had been treating the rescued Ethans, added his own observations. "The psychological damage these creatures cause is severe. They don't just kill quickly. They torture their victims for entertainment. The Ethans we rescued have nightmares about things I can't even describe." Council Leader Stone made the decision that would change human history. "We'll fight them, but we need to be smart about it. Morrison, I want you to take a new mission. Find other species that are fighting the Vrak, build an alliance." Jake saluted. "Yes, ma'am. What about ships and supplies?" "You'll get our best stealth vessel, the Ghost. Commander Kate Sullivan will be your new captain. Your job will be intelligence gathering and special operations." 2 weeks later, Jake found himself aboard the Ghost with a hand-picked team of specialists. Commander Kate Sullivan was the best stealth pilot in the Earth fleet. She could make her ship invisible to almost any sensor system. The Ghost was much smaller than the Ranger, with a crew of only 15 people. But it was packed with advanced spy equipment and the most sophisticated weapons humanity had ever created. Their first mission took them deep into Vrak territory, to a system where the aliens were attacking a species called the Krell. The Krell were large, rock-like beings who lived on heavy gravity worlds. They had been fighting the Vrak for 10 years. Kate brought the Ghost into the system undetected, using stealth technology that made them invisible to Vrak sensors. What Jake saw through the spy cameras made him sick to his stomach. The Vrak had turned 3 Krell planets into hunting preserves. They would release groups of Krell civilians on the surface, then hunt them for sport. The strongest Krell were kept in breeding facilities, forced to produce children who would become future prey. "This isn't war," Kate said quietly. "This is farming." Jake studied the Vrak installations through the ship's advanced scanners. Unlike their warships, the ground facilities were poorly defended. The Vrak had grown overconfident after centuries of easy victories. "Kate, can you get us close to that main facility without being detected?" "Of course," Kate replied with a grim smile. "What did you have in mind?" Jake called his team together in the ship's small briefing room. Along with Kate, he had brought Marine Colonel Danny Foster, a specialist in guerrilla warfare. Danny had spent 5 years fighting rebels on Mars and knew how to train civilians to become soldiers. "We're going to do something the Vrak won't expect," Jake explained. "We're going to free their prisoners and teach them how to fight back." The mission began at midnight ship time. Kate brought the Ghost down to the planet's surface in complete silence, landing in a forest near the main Vrak facility. Jake led a team of 6 Marines to the prisoner compound, while Danny Foster took another group to gather intelligence. The rescue was almost too easy. The Vrak guards were lazy and overconfident, never expecting an attack on their own territory. Jake's team disabled the security systems and freed over 200 Krell prisoners without firing a shot. But the real surprise came when the Marines made contact with the Krell. Unlike the peaceful Ethans, these aliens were natural fighters. They had been warriors before the Vrak conquered them, and 10 years of imprisonment had only made them angrier. "You are the humans the Vrak fear," said Grextor, the Krell leader. "We heard stories that a new species had begun hunting the hunters." "We're here to help you fight back," Jake replied. "But you need to learn new tactics. The old ways didn't work against the Vrak." Danny Foster spent the next 3 days teaching the Krell prisoners everything he knew about guerrilla warfare. The rock-like aliens were quick learners, and their natural strength made them perfect for hit-and-run attacks. "The key is to strike fast and disappear," Danny explained. "Don't try to fight the Vrak in open battle. Attack their supply lines, their communication systems, their leaders. Make them afraid to leave their ships." While Danny trained the Krell, Jake's team gathered detailed intelligence about Vrak military structure. What they discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. The Vrak were incredibly strong and tough, but they were not very smart. They relied on brute force instead of tactics, and their technology was primitive compared to human standards. However, they had vast numbers and seemed to feel no fear or doubt. "They're like insects," Kate observed. "Very dangerous insects, but insects nonetheless." The Ghost left the Krell system after a week, but not before Danny Foster had trained 50 Krell guerrilla fighters and provided them with human weapons and communication equipment. Jake knew that within a month, there would be Vrak blood on every planet in the system. Their next stop was a research facility that the Vrak had built in an asteroid field. According to intercepted communications, the aliens were studying captured technology from defeated species, trying to understand why some prey fought back better than others. What Jake found at the research station changed everything he thought he knew about the Vrak. The facility wasn't just studying technology. It was studying the psychology of different species, trying to understand concepts like courage, sacrifice, and loyalty. "They don't understand why we fight for each other," Dr. Lisa Hayes explained after reviewing the Vrak research data. "To them, every individual should only care about their own survival. The idea that someone would die to protect strangers makes no sense to them." Jake realized that this was humanity's greatest advantage. The Vrak were individually stronger and more numerous, but they had no concept of working together for a common cause. They followed leaders out of fear, not loyalty. "Lisa, can you use this information to create psychological warfare tactics?" "Already working on it," Lisa replied with a dark smile. "If we can't outfight them, maybe we can scare them to death." As the Ghost prepared to return to Earth, Jake received a coded message from Admiral Carter. 3 Vrak fleets had been detected moving toward human space. The enemy was bringing over 150 ships to destroy Earth. Jake looked out at the stars and felt a cold anger settle in his chest. The Vrak thought they were hunting helpless prey. They were about to learn that Earth's monsters hunted back, and they hunted to kill. Admiral Sarah Kim stood in the command center of Luna Base, staring at the tactical display that showed 3 Vrak fleets approaching Earth's solar system. 150 alien warships were coming to destroy humanity's homeworld, and Earth had only 12 ships to stop them. "Time until enemy arrival?" Sarah asked her tactical officer. 72 hours, Admiral," Lieutenant Rob Hayes replied. "They're moving in a standard formation, 3 groups of 50 ships each." Sarah nodded. The Vrak were approaching exactly as human intelligence had predicted. They thought they were dealing with a typical prey species that would panic and beg for mercy. They had no idea what kind of enemy they were really facing. "Send the authorization code for Operation Apex," Sarah commanded. "It's time to show these aliens what human monsters can really do." Operation Apex had been planned in secret by Earth's best military minds. Instead of meeting the Vrak in traditional space combat, humanity would use the one advantage they had always possessed: the ability to think like their enemies and anticipate their moves. Major Alex Cooper received his orders at a secret base on Mars. Alex was the leader of Earth's most elite Special Forces unit, trained in techniques that most people would consider unthinkable. His mission was simple: hunt Vrak commanders and make the rest afraid to give orders. "Remember," Alex told his team of 20 specialists, "we're not just trying to kill them. We want them to know they're being hunted. Fear is our greatest weapon." Alex's team took their small stealth ships deep into Vrak space while the enemy fleets were focused on Earth. Their first target was Warlord Krextar himself, the Vrak leader who had ordered the attack on humanity's homeworld. The human special forces found Krextar's command ship in a system far behind the front lines. The Vrak warlord felt completely safe, surrounded by 50 of his most loyal warships. He had no idea that human hunters were already aboard his vessel. Alex and his team had spent months studying captured Vrak technology. They knew exactly how to move through the alien ship without being detected. They also knew which Vrak crew members were most important to the ship's operation. The attack began at night, ship time. Alex's team moved through the Vrak vessel like ghosts, eliminating key personnel one by one. But they didn't just kill them quickly. They left messages written in Vrak blood, messages that said the humans are hunting you. When Krextar woke up the next morning, he found his navigation officer dead in his quarters with a human knife stuck in his chest. The knife had a note attached: "Your hunters have become the hunted." Over the next 3 days, Alex's team killed 15 more Vrak officers. Each death was carefully planned to cause maximum psychological damage. The humans would strike without warning, leave evidence of their presence, then disappear completely. Krextar became paranoid and afraid, something that no Vrak had experienced in centuries. He ordered his guards to check every room on the ship twice per hour. He stopped sleeping alone. He even considered turning back from the attack on Earth. "How are they getting aboard our ship?" Krextar demanded of his security chief. "We don't know, Warlord," the security chief replied nervously. "Our sensors show no enemy vessels nearby. It's like they appear from nowhere." While Alex Cooper terrorized Vrak commanders, Dr. Lisa Hayes was working on a different kind of psychological warfare. She had developed a new communication system that could broadcast messages directly into Vrak ships. The messages Lisa created were designed to exploit everything humanity had learned about Vrak psychology. She played recordings of Vrak soldiers screaming as they died, mixed with human laughter and the sounds of Earth's most dangerous predators. "The idea is to make them think we enjoy killing them," Lisa explained to Admiral Kim. "For a species that kills for survival, the concept of killing for pleasure is absolutely terrifying." The psychological warfare campaign began as soon as the Vrak fleets entered the outer solar system. Every Vrak ship started receiving broadcasts of human voices describing exactly how they planned to hunt and kill the aliens. "We know you are afraid," one broadcast said in perfect Vrak language. "We can smell your fear from across space. Run now, and some of you might live to tell others about Earth's monsters." The broadcasts were accompanied by detailed intelligence about each Vrak ship, including the names of commanders and crew members. The humans somehow knew everything about their enemy, down to personal details that should have been impossible for outsiders to discover. Captain Jake Morrison had returned to Earth just in time for the final preparations. He was given command of a special task force that included the Ranger and 3 other ships. His mission was to coordinate with alien allies who were traveling to help defend Earth. The allies were a surprise to everyone. Word about humanity's war against the Vrak had spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Species that had been conquered by the Vrak decades ago were rising up in rebellion, inspired by human resistance. "We have 12 ships from the Krell, 8 from the Ethans, and 6 from a species called the Zoran," Jake reported to Admiral Kim. "They're not as advanced as our technology, but they're eager to fight." "What about their combat experience?" Sarah asked. "The Krell have been fighting guerrilla wars for 10 years, Jake replied. "The Ethans are new to combat, but they learn fast. The Zoran are the interesting ones. They're actually predators like humans, but they only hunt non-intelligent animals. The combined Allied fleet had 47 ships against 150 Vrak vessels. The odds were still terrible, but humanity had never fought fair when they could avoid it. Admiral Kim's battle plan was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of meeting the enemy in open combat, the human ships would use hit-and-run tactics while broadcasting psychological warfare messages and coordinating strikes by special forces teams. "We're going to make them think we're everywhere at once," Sarah explained to her captains. "Every time they turn around, we'll hit them from a different direction. Every time they think they're safe, we'll remind them that they're being hunted." The first engagement took place near Jupiter. A group of Vrak scouts encountered Jake Morrison's task force and expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that fought like nothing they had ever seen. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, using tactics that the Vrak couldn't counter. When the aliens tried to surround them, the humans would scatter and regroup. When the Vrak tried to retreat, the humans would pursue them relentlessly. More importantly, the humans seemed to know exactly what the Vrak were going to do before they did it. Every Vrak movement was anticipated, every attack was countered, every retreat was turned into a rout. "It's like they can read our minds," reported the surviving Vrak scout captain. The psychological effect was exactly what Admiral Kim had hoped for. The Vrak had always been the hunters, always been the ones who inspired fear. Now they were experiencing terror for the first time in their species' history. Major Alex Cooper's Special Forces team struck again during the battle, boarding 3 different Vrak ships and eliminating their command crews. The attacks were so swift and brutal that other Vrak ships started shooting at anything that moved, including their own allies. Dr. Lisa Hayes monitored Vrak communications during the engagement and was amazed by what she heard. The aliens were starting to break down psychologically, reporting impossible things and panicking when there was no immediate threat. "They're calling us death singers," Lisa reported. "They think we have supernatural powers because we kill while showing emotions they can't understand." As the Vrak fleets retreated from Jupiter, Admiral Kim prepared for the next phase of Operation Apex. The aliens still had superior numbers, but they no longer had the psychological advantage that had made them so dangerous. The Vrak had spent centuries hunting prey that ran away in fear. Now they were facing predators who hunted them back, and they had no idea how to handle that reality. Earth's monsters were no longer hiding. They were coming out to play, and the galaxy would never be the same. The final battle began at the edge of Vrak space near their home world of Vrax Prime. Emperor Vashkol had gathered every remaining ship in his empire for one last desperate fight. 300 Vrak vessels surrounded their home planet like angry hornets protecting their nest. Admiral Sarah, Kim brought humanity's combined fleet to face them. 47 human and allied ships against an enemy that still outnumbered them 6-1. But numbers were no longer the most important factor in this war. "Enemy fleet in visual range," reported Captain Jake Morrison from the bridge of the Ranger. "They're arranged in defensive formations around their planet." Sarah studied the tactical display from her flagship, the cruiser Independence. The Vrak were doing exactly what human intelligence had predicted. They were so afraid of human special forces that they had pulled all their ships close together, making them easier targets. "All ships, begin Operation Final Hunt," Sarah commanded. What happened next shocked every alien species in the galaxy. Instead of attacking the Vrak fleet directly, the human ships began broadcasting a message on every communication frequency the Vrak used. The voice belonged to Dr. Lisa Hayes, speaking in perfect Vrak language with a tone that made even hardened warriors shiver. "Emperor Vashkol," Lisa's voice echoed through space. "We are the humans you have been hunting. We are here to collect a debt. For every innocent being you have killed, we will take one of yours. For every world you have destroyed, we will burn one of yours. We are not here to conquer you. We are here to end you." Emperor Vashkol himself responded from his massive flagship. "You are just another prey species. We have destroyed 47 civilizations. You will be the 48th. "No," Sarah Kim's voice came over the communication system. "We are the 48th species you have tried to destroy. We are the first that will succeed in destroying you." The psychological warfare had worked better than anyone expected. While the Vrak fleets were gathered at their homeworld, Human Special Forces teams led by Major Alex Cooper had been systematically infiltrating every other VRAC system. Colonel Danny Foster's guerrilla training programs had spread across 30 different worlds. Species that had been slaves for generations were rising up in coordinated rebellion. The VRAC Empire wasn't just losing a battle, it was collapsing from within. Emperor, Admiral Kim continued, while you were focusing on our ships, our real army was freeing your slaves. Check your communications. Your empire is burning. Vashkol frantically ordered his fleet to contact other VRAC systems. What he heard destroyed his confidence completely. Rebellion on Krekstar Prime. Human commandos on Vostar 7. Former slaves executing VRAC governors on 12 different worlds. The humans had done something no other species had ever attempted. They had turned the VRAC's own empire against them. Impossible, Vashkol roared. My people control 60 star systems. You have only a few ships. Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm and deadly. Emperor, you never understood what you were fighting. We don't just have ships. We have something you never learned to use. Allies who fight because they want to, not because they're afraid. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The VRAC still had superior numbers and firepower, but they were fighting an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike at VRAC vessels, then disappear before the enemy could respond. Allied ships coordinated their attacks with perfect timing. Every human weapon hit its target, while VRAC shots seemed to miss by impossible margins. Commander Kate Sullivan brought the stealth ship Ghost directly into the VRAC formation, invisible to their sensors. Her ship was small, but it carried the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. Target the Emperor's flagship, Sarah ordered. End this war. Kate positioned the Ghost directly under Vashkol's massive ship and fired every weapon at once. The invisible human vessel tore through the VRAC flagship like a knife through paper, destroying the ship's main reactor and command center in seconds. As the Emperor's ship exploded, something unexpected happened. Instead of fighting harder, the remaining VRAC ships began to surrender. Dr. Lisa Hayes had been monitoring VRAC communications throughout the battle. What she heard explained everything about their species' psychology. Admiral, they're not surrendering because they're defeated, Lisa reported. They're surrendering because they're afraid we'll do to them what they did to other species. The VRAC had spent so many generations as predators that they could not imagine mercy from a stronger enemy. They expected humans to hunt them for sport, to keep them as food animals, to torture them for entertainment. Sarah Kim made a decision that surprised everyone, including her own officers. All VRAC vessels, this is Admiral Kim, she broadcast. We accept your surrender. You will be transported to secure facilities where you will face trial for war crimes. Those found guilty will be imprisoned. Those found innocent will be released. The silence that followed lasted for several minutes. Finally, a VRAC voice responded with obvious confusion. You are not going to eat us? We are not like you, Sarah replied. We kill to protect others, not for pleasure. The aftermath of the war changed the galaxy forever. The VRAC Empire collapsed completely as enslaved species across 60 star systems won their freedom. The trials of VRAC war criminals lasted for 3 years and established the first Galactic Court of Justice. Captain Jake Morrison was assigned to help coordinate the new Galactic Protection Compact, with Earth as its primary enforcer. The human military became the galaxy's police force, hunting down pirates, slavers, and other predator species. But not everyone was happy with humanity's new role. As Jake stood in his office on the space station Terra Prime, looking out at ships from dozens of different species, he read reports that worried him. Some alien governments were starting to complain that humans were too aggressive. They said that Earth's military responded to threats with overwhelming force, that human soldiers showed no mercy to enemies who harmed civilians. Dr. Lisa Hayes, now head of Galactic Communications, brought Jake the latest intelligence reports. There's talk among some species about limiting human military authority, Lisa said. They're afraid we're becoming too powerful. Jake wasn't surprised. He had expected this reaction eventually. They asked for monsters to save them from monsters, Jake said quietly. Now they're afraid because we're better at it than the monsters they were running from. The truth was that humanity had not changed during the war. They had always been predators, always been capable of terrible violence when protecting their own. The difference was that humans chose when to be monsters and when to show mercy. Other species were beginning to understand what the Vrak had learned too late. Earth's monsters hunted for justice, for protection, for revenge, but they still hunted. And when something threatened the innocent, they hunted without mercy or hesitation. The galaxy was safer now than it had been in centuries. Pirates thought twice before attacking trade ships. Slavers looked over their shoulders constantly. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans when they remembered what had happened to the Vrak. But sometimes, in the quiet of space stations far from Earth, alien diplomats would whisper to each other about humanity's true nature. They had called for help when monsters threatened them, and help had come. The problem was that the help had come in the form of bigger monsters. As Jake watched the sunset through his office window, he received a priority message from Earth Defense Command. Long-range sensors had detected an unknown fleet approaching from outside the galaxy. The ships were massive, more advanced than anything in known space. Jake smiled grimly and began calling his senior staff. Earth's monsters had spent the last 5 years learning to hunt in space, building alliances, and perfecting the art of galactic warfare. Whatever was coming from outside the galaxy was about to learn the same lesson the Vrak had learned. When you threaten the innocent, Earth's predators come hunting, and humans had become very, very good at hunting.